Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our Youth Off the Streets webinar. We're going to start with a short video and I'll join you after that to give you an update about Youth Off the Streets. Hi, I'm Judy Barraclough, CEO of Youth Off the Streets. Our donors often ask to get a sense of Youth Off the Streets behind the scenes, so I'm delighted to welcome you today to Youth Off the Streets main office in Alexandria. We're very fortunate to lease this space from a generous long-term donor, and we're thankful to that donor for this space. Come and have a look. We have around 60 of our team members based here. Hi everyone. We have team members who are supporting young people day to day with our frontline services, so homelessness, education, vocational training. We also have our child safety team and the support teams behind those frontline services, finance, people and culture, risk. And all of these team members are working together to make sure that we can provide a coordinated and seamless support to young people as their needs evolve. I hope this gives you a sense of the care, coordination and professionalism behind every outcome we achieve. Mute myself. Let's begin. I will begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet today. So I'm based in Alexandria, so I pay respects to the traditional owners from the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and recognise the strength and resilience of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, especially the young people and families we walk alongside. So thanks for attending today. This is the first of a series of webinars that we'll be running, and the aim is to give you a deeper insight into what makes us tick at Youth Off the Streets. We started with that short video to introduce some of the faces who work behind the scenes. Team leaders from our frontline services are based here at our main office in Alexandria. So that covers our homelessness, education, scholarship, child safety staff and a number of other teams. And our teams are together here on purpose so that every young person is supported by specialists who can respond quickly to the needs of those young people. And that wraparound service is one of our biggest strengths and one of the things that I want to share more about with you today. I'll also be taking you through some of our strategy, our progress and the values that guide us, as well as give you a sense of what the young people we support are facing today and how our services with your support make a difference for them. And lastly, I'd love to hear a bit more about why you support us and any questions you have. There is a Q&A function in this Teams webinar. So on the ribbon above at the top of the screen, you'll see the Q&A function. Feel free to drop a question into that as I go. And then once I've finished sharing a few things with you, we'll open that up, turn on microphones and have a conversation together. So I thought it might be helpful to start with sharing a little bit about myself and why I joined Youth Off the Streets. So I have a personal passion for supporting young people and communities in need. Since quite a young age, I've volunteered with a range of programs for disadvantaged youth and homeless people. And over the last 12 years or so, I've been working in the for-purpose sector. So that's included the board of World Vision Australia and the Smith family. Prior to that, I worked in the corporate sector for large Australian and global companies. I joined Youth Off the Streets as CEO nearly 3 years ago now, and I'm really honoured and privileged to hold this role. Youth Off the Streets is an organisation that I'd admired from a distance for a long time. I think it must be 20 years ago that I first read the autobiography of our founder, Father Chris Riley. And Father Chris's heart for helping kids at the edge and the ongoing mission of Youth Off the Streets really resonates so deeply with me, and I'm so proud to be carrying forward his legacy. It's an honor to be contributing to Youth Off the Streets journey as we expand our reach and strengthen our impact for young people, which I'll tell you a bit more about shortly. That being said, it's really always the stories of individual young people I meet who keep me inspired every day to do the best that I can for the mission and the purpose of this organization. So I thought I'd tell you about one young person who I've had a bit to do with recently. I'll call her Lucy, not her real name. So, after facing family breakdown, Lucy was forced to leave her family home at the age of 16, and her circumstances were shaped by long standing complexities and trauma. And she said that it became clear to her that remaining there wasn't safe anymore. She had no extended family in Australia, and so she found herself moving between temporary places before being referred to a crisis accommodation centre. She connected with Youth Off the Streets during that time in one of our crisis accommodation houses. And there we were able to give her the support of a caseworker, the safety of stable housing, and the warmth of a community. And Lucy said, and I'm quoting her, that changed everything for me. What had been a period of loneliness shifted into one of the most genuine forms of community I have ever experienced, which I guess you maybe wouldn't expect from having landed in a crisis accommodation centre. She was supported to move into more independent accommodation when she turned 17. And then when she finished school, she participated in a Youth Off the Streets program called Pathways to Employment. So, this program gives Lucy and others like her training and qualifications, and most importantly, connections to employment opportunities. And Lucy is now part of an internship program at a small financial services firm. And again, I'm going to quote her. Here I gained skills I'd never imagined that I'd have, confidence I didn't realize I was missing, and exposure across people and teams that showed me what a healthy work environment looks like. These experiences allowed me to say something I never thought I would. I've been able to break out of survival mode. I can now focus on what I can be rather than what I have to be. So I had the opportunity of meeting with the COO of the company that Lucy's working for, and I was delighted to hear that they are so impressed by her that they want to offer her a permanent role. So that is just a brilliant outcome for Lucy. And I think that story sheds a lot of light on the type of work we do. The work that Youth Off the Streets does is very values different driven, and I think that's part of our difference. And that those values shape the way that we work with young people like Lucy every day. We believe in acting with passion, treating everyone with respect, being honest and ethical, staying dedicated even when things get tough, and working together through genuine engagement. And our work is grounded in approaches that put young people first. Our work is trauma informed, culturally responsive, and tailored to each person's individual needs and goals. We walk alongside each young person as we seek to understand their particular circumstances, their needs, and their goals. We offer safety, support, and education that helps them realise their potential. We don't believe in quick fixes. We address the immediate crises that young people face, but our support doesn't stop there. We provide that wraparound support to address each young person's unique situation. And we're there to help each young person for as long as they need us. I think most of you on this call are familiar with Youth Off the Streets work, but just to recap, our services and programs are quite diverse, from crisis accommodation, justice support, counselling for alcohol and other drugs, to alternative education, First Nations cultural support, and vocational training. They're just a few of the ways that we empower young people like Lucy to carve their own path towards a safe and fulfilling future. And as we think about the work that we do and the way that we walk alongside each young person and respond to their individual needs, it really does hark to the original vision and purpose of our founder, Father Chris Riley, AM. And that vision is what we carry forward with us. I think you would all know that sadly last year, Father Chris passed away. I was really deeply moved by the tributes that came in from people who'd previously known him, people who had accessed our services themselves, and also really moved by the messages of support and encouragement to each other from my colleagues around me that still carry his vision forward. And I think his passing was a moment for us all to reflect on the strength of his life's work, and his unwavering belief that people deserve the chance to reach their full potential. And that belief is what we all carry with us. It's at the heart of what we do and guides every decision we make. And I think some of you will know that Father Chris wasn't solely an educator. He was also an academic, and his work was based on research. And that work really has now become Youth Off the Street's founding principles, connecting the strengths of the past with the ambition, determination, and expertise of our current and future organisation. So those founding principles are something that our staff will refer to. Things like, we recognise the strength and potential that is already within every child and young person. So as we look to the future, know that we are building on Father Riley's legacy, and our organisation lives on with the strength not just of our founder, but of the fantastic colleagues who surround me and inspire each of our team members every day. Our organisation is not just one person, it's many. And through this webinar series, I'm excited to join with you as we get to know some of my colleagues, our inspiring team, who are committed to this work and who do it with incredible passion and expertise. I'll tell you more about the future webinars that we have planned at the end. So as we think again about the services we offer, the need has never been greater. Young Australians aged 12 to 24, like Lucy, sadly make up nearly a quarter of the total homeless population in Australia, according to the last census. And I think that's just a horrifying statistic. Disconnection from school is on the rise amongst young people and children who are facing disadvantage. And we know that growing numbers of children and young people are in need of homeless support. The facts, truly are heartbreaking, and I think devastating to know that in a country that really has so much. But we have a plan to address these challenges and give children and young people every chance to thrive. So at Youth Off the Streets, we have a 5-year strategy. We're currently midway through that, 2.5 years in fact. And that strategy is based on 2 primary goals: to expand the reach of our services and to strengthen the impact of what we do for children and young people. Essentially, we want to help as many children and young people as we can and give them the best possible chance to build a positive future. So let me tell you a little bit about our strategic priorities. So firstly, we want to strengthen the impact of our work. So that includes ensuring that we have the right foundational processes and systems in place. So that's everything from child safety, our risk management, our finance systems, and so on. And building our evidence base and our data to continually strengthen the impact of the programs and services we offer. Our other priorities are to expand the reach of our services by extending our teams and opening new sites within the communities we operate in across New South Wales and Queensland. So over the first 2.5 years of our 5-year strategy, we've seen great progress. And if I look just to the last 12 months, in 2025, we saw double the number of young people accessing our alcohol and other drug service in Western Sydney. Double the number compared to the previous year had completed their treatment plans compared to the previous year, and 3 times as many young people engaged with the events that we were offering through that program. Also last year, our First Nations services team was able to reach 20% more young people. And our youth support services team saw 15% growth in the support that was provided to young people in our engagement services. And in our regional areas, such as Logan, Dubbo, Maitland, we saw that a real increase in the services offered. And for example, in Maitland, in the Hunter Valley, they supported 60% more young people with casework support. Excitingly, our Youth Off the Street school in the Illawarra moved into fantastic premises located at the Innovation Campus of the University of Wollongong. And that has been proving to generate amazing opportunities for the 50 young people who are enrolled in that school. And we opened a new site in Mount Druitt, and there we're developing a youth hub, which will provide a range of supports to young people in need in Western Sydney. And this year, in 2026, we are absolutely thrilled to be opening a new school in Maitland in the Hunter Valley after we understanding and researching, knowing that there's high demand from the young people and families accessing our services there. We're also well underway with a very exciting project to open a new youth housing service in the centre of Sydney for young people who have experienced domestic and family violence. That will be a really important service as part of our homelessness offering. And across all of these strategic initiatives, our approach is really founded on being holistic, getting alongside young people, being trauma informed, and being grounded in responding to what young people tell us they need. The generous support of people like you is really what keeps the engine running for us to achieve this strategy. And we really couldn't have achieved any of this without you. I think some of you may be aware that we do receive some government funding. Our schools and our youth homelessness service in the inner west of Sydney are primarily funded by government. But our other work across our support services for young people in youth justice, our engagement services, our First Nations cultural assistance, our work in domestic violence and mental health, all of that is only made possible through generous contributions from philanthropists, philanthropic families, and corporate partnerships. A bed for the night is one thing, but when that's combined with the opportunity to be supported by a trusted adult who believes in your power to succeed, that's what your support offers. Thank you for showing up when young people need it most. Thank you for caring as much as you do about children and young people. Before I open the floor up to questions, I'm delighted to share a little bit of a sneak peek into what's in store for the next webinars that we have in our series. So some of the colleagues from across our services will be joining us to tour the spaces that children and young people come to for safety and support and share their stories. I think you'll really enjoy it. In our next webinar, you'll meet Amani and Emily from our youth support services at our Riley Centre drop-in, which is in Macquarie Fields. We'll meet our fabulous teaching staff at the Craig Davis College, our school down in Wollongong. And we'll looking forward to the youth housing service that I mentioned, being able to take a look at that once it's complete. And as I mentioned, that will be supporting young people experiencing homelessness who've experienced domestic and family violence. And finally, you'll get to meet our Senior Manager for Homelessness and Housing, Fatina. So thank you again for your time. It's been great to be able to share with you a little bit of the work that we're doing in our strategy and the impact that you're having for children and young people. So I'd love to hear your questions and talk through anything that you'd like to know more about. So we'll open up the microphones and the chat function. So as I mentioned, there's a Q&A function in the ribbon at the top of the screen. Feel free to drop a question in there or just come off mute and ask directly. Anyone want to kick us off with a question? Thanks for the question. Pleased to get that kicked off. So the question is, what would be a priority from you as supporters and donors for the coming year, and what we would be looking for from donors? So, as I mentioned, essentially the majority of our work is not directly funded. So, we are always very keen to hear from individual supporters as to a particular area that they are interested in. And we do have, I know, on this webinar today, a number of supporters and partners who are providing financial support for particular programs. The priorities that we have for the coming year actually do range across a number of our program areas. In particular, one of the areas that is not funded is the Youth Hub in Western Sydney that I mentioned, the work that we're doing in Mount Druitt. That is something that we are funding from our reserves and does need support. Similarly, our youth housing project that we're looking at in inner Sydney, we do have a pledge for funding for part of that, but there is a remaining part that needs funding. But essentially across many of the areas that we are operating in, we would love to hear from you if you're interested in becoming involved in that. Yeah. Okay, great. Sorry, I was flipping between chat and Q&A. Why do we need to run schools? Great question. So we have 7 school programs. They are independent high schools. We run from years 9 to 12. Those are school services that are designed specifically for young people who are at risk of homelessness or experiencing homelessness. The need for those is quite enormous, actually, and the special assistance schools area, which is the domain in which our schools fall, is an area that is growing in need. The supports that we provide in our schools are tailored to the young people, the needs of the young people we support. So that includes additional youth work support to help them, for example, find accommodation. It includes support around mental health, as many of our young people are facing quite complex issues, and a range of additional supports that young people in those particular areas of need require. And so grab any fundraising events around Sydney coming soon. So we are actually about to launch an event that we're calling Hike for Home. And that's going to be the opportunity for people to engage in a 50, 100 or 150 kilometre walk. Now, you don't have to do that all on one day. It's over a month and could be anywhere across the cities, whatever your preference is, to raise funds for young people experiencing homelessness. Also, if you hop onto our website, you'll see opportunities to get involved in fundraising in different ways. Or, of course, reach out to us and we'll let you know. There's also a question, tell us more about the inner city housing that I mentioned. Yeah, so one of the pretty scary stats about homelessness is that specialist housing support services turn away effectively every second person. So 1 in 2 young people are turned away from support crisis accommodation, which is just a horrifying statistic. And so there's a great need for more beds, both in crisis, but also in what's called transitional housing. So once a young person leaves a short-term crisis, having a sort of 12 to 18-month stay where they're semi-supported independent living. So we are establishing a transitional housing service in the inner city. It will be for approximately 8 young people at a time. They will be supported by a dedicated team who have special skills in working with young people who've experienced domestic violence. And in the course of that stay, they will be encouraged and supported to build their independence in whatever way is needed, whether that's about all of the practical things they need to establish themselves for independent living, or more on the building their strength, confidence, and resilience to be able to thrive and continue in an independent fashion. Any other questions? Where is the housing? So the housing is uh, in Haymarket in the centre of Sydney. Okay, so we might draw to this webinar to a close now, but we would be absolutely delighted to hear from you directly. Or do we have one final? One final question. Okay. What's the age of young people most in need? To be honest, it's really every age. The young people that Youth Off the Streets tends to support are in their teenage years. Um, so our services expand from 12 to 24 years old. And I often think of those as the young people who kind of fall between the cracks. They're no longer uh, directly suited to services for children, but they're too young to access the support for adults. So they're what I see as a real area of need, that group of teenagers. And I think that was, did I catch another question on the back of that one, which was how many people move on from needing help each year and how many extra people come in each year? Oh, gosh, I don't even know how I would begin to answer that. Maybe one way of thinking about that is each of our programs and services have different lengths of time that we support people. So, for example, the longest period of time that we support young people is in our schools. As I mentioned, years 9 to 12. So, a young person might be with us for a 4-year period in that, and sometimes beyond. In crisis accommodation, it tends to be around 3 months. We hope that we will continue working with a young person after that 3 months into transitional further casework. And similarly, in some of our programmatic services, that tends to be a 3 to 6 month engagement. The overall, we support around 2,000 young people with individual support each year, and that group is rolling depending on the particular service that they offer. I hope that answers that question. And just one more final one. Oh, the age. Yeah, I answered that one. Good. All right, so we might wrap us up here. So as I was starting to say, we would be delighted to hear from you directly. Please reach out to us through the contacts that you had on the invitation, or directly to myself through our website email address. It'll get to me. We would love to hear from you if you have any further questions, or if you're interested in finding out more about any of the programs and services that I mentioned today. And with that, a heartfelt thanks again for your generous support and the fact that you stand alongside us and alongside the young people we support in believing that every young person deserves the opportunity to reach their potential. Thank you.